Hello friends, SentinalH here, and today, because I'm kind of short on time because I've been doing full-time shifts at work, I wanted to give you a look at my current Factorio factory, the world that I've been playing on a really neat rail world that I generated. I don't have a seed for it, sorry. But it was really cool because it had copper and iron and coal and stone and everything you needed, and even a little bit of uranium right next to each other, so you could really get started. And it's a rail world, which is my favorite type of world because it makes trains far more important. So I thought I would give you a quick show around of my factory. I'll turn on the advanced so that you can take a look. I'm currently up to purple science at the moment. I haven't gotten to the gold science, but I do have the purple science. And I am running a nuclear reactor. So allow me to show you around. Obviously, we have here the research labs, the ultimate goal of everything, producing science packs. Down here in this enormous section, I have all of my science production. Basically, I found some blueprints books that I could acquire from on the internet, and they looked good to me, so I basically just pasted them in. It might be overkill, I don't know, but now that I've upgraded the research speed on these things a couple of times, it actually isn't really that big of an overkill, especially on the green science. It would appear that green science is actually the one that gets eaten up the most. So right here I've got my red science, which is an awful lot of red science. You don't need these many. And then an awful lot of green science, which also you really don't need that many. What happened there? Didn't I have a light there? That's weird. I thought I had a lamp there. It got dark all of a sudden. That was weird. I mean, we have plenty of power. My nuclear reactor, even the single core, can keep up with this entire factory. I'm not running any steam power anymore. I'm just running nuclear and then a bit of solar, which isn't producing anything at the moment. And I've only got a couple of accumulators. I really haven't done much with accumulators or solar. It's mostly all nuclear. So then we've got the red and green science. And I've got like a pseudo bus system going on, but it's still kind of like half bus, half spaghetti because of the way that I organized it. It wasn't the best. But then we have the military science, and I like this setup for military science. It wasn't hard to set up at all. It just worked. The way that these blueprints worked is that it would have conveyors coming off of it. You just feed the right resources under the right belt, and it would spit the science out the other end. Don't even have to think about it. 5 gray science is like, so far 5 military science facilities have been completely sufficient in all regards. And then down here we've got advanced circuits. I was trying to add 2 more on, but I haven't got them set up yet. But here we have an advanced circuit production facility, which takes in copper to make its own copper wire, but also takes in the circuits and plastic from the other areas of the factory and produces all the red circuits that I've so far needed. I probably need another one of these once I start large-scale production on blue circuits, which I've got over here. Down here, I just plonked down some assemblers for solar panels. I've got an entire chest full because I forgot to limit it. So essentially, I've got a lot of power production capability as far as solar goes. I just haven't set any of it up. And on the map here, there's actually a large empty area up here that would actually be quite good for very large solar farms. Take a look at my rail network in a bit. So here we've got the blue science, very large set of blue science assemblers. Again, this seems like overkill to me, and I think it is. Although I'm not really sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Actually, I think 12 is the right ratio if you're using blue assemblers. Don't quote me on that, but I think it's like 5 for red to get one per second, and then 6 for blue, and then green, and then 12 for blue, unless the ratios were changed. Once you upgrade to yellow assemblers, you don't need nearly as many as this. I haven't upgraded any of these things yet. They're all running the base level blue assemblers. Of course, engine production right here, quite useful. I often just grab them off the line because, you need engines for trains. Now this blueprint actually was the old version, which used assemblers, so I had to sort of modify it and add it was from a blueprint called Science Bitches, which is quite funny. I had to add electric mining drill production to it, but it worked out just fine. I just put 4 of these here. I don't think I needed 4, but I just slapped a couple down just to make sure it would work. Then over here we've got the purple science. This whole chunk over here is all purple science. It's producing the assemblers, it's producing all of its own gears, producing its own pipes. Basically, all I'm feeding it is raw materials. I feed it the iron, I feed it the steel, I feed it the lubricant, I feed it the stone bricks and the steel and the red circuits, of course, and then it produces me the purple science, as well as a nice supply of the electric engines, which I have used to make some construction robots. Although I don't have a Roboport network set up yet, and I don't have logistics robots implemented, I've basically been spending all of my time building rails, and I haven't even implemented the logistics system yet. I've put some level 1 productivity modules on the purple science just because it's so expensive and it seems to make sense to do so. Down here I just started producing processing units on a small scale just so I could have some, so I could make myself some upgraded armor and some modules and stuff. It's not sufficient. I need some actual power armor, which I don't have yet. Although I could build it, actually, with the amount of processing units I currently have. I can actually construct some power armor if I just grab myself some of these electric engines. Now, when I first set up this system, the electric engines were not being produced at a fast enough rate to supply constant production of purple science, but over time that actually fixed itself. I don't exactly know why, but it did, and it ended up working out just perfectly. So yeah, that just solved its own problem. So now this runs constantly and there's no problem at all. Let's craft some power armor, shall we? So as you can see, I've basically spaghettified the bus system. So over here I have my, well, this used to be iron processing. I've recently moved iron smelting, and now this is just steel processing. But I used to have my iron smelting line down here, and it extended like all the way down to the bottom. And then over in this gap that you see up here is where I used to have my copper smelting, and I actually only had like 8 furnaces there for a very, very long time, and it still worked, which is interesting. You just didn't need a lot of copper. Now I need a lot of copper because I'm making processing units, or I'm going to start doing it. Anyway, I've got these like belt balancers here, which Waterlubber will probably criticize as being crap, but I found a blueprint for them, so I just used them. It takes the initial belt, and this is just stupid right here where I've got it. I only slightly upgraded it to red, so don't worry about it too much. And actually, this is dumb here. This shouldn't be like that. It should be like that. The first line gets split into 2, and the entire left half goes down to the bottom, whereas the right half gets split again and balanced onto this belt, which goes to the bottom. So if that's good, I don't know, but it's what I've been using. So I've got 2 belts for 2 rows for everything. Iron, copper, circuits, the most important things, and then I run plastic down from above, and I've got my steel belt over here because back when I built this, I had stuff over here. Now I don't, so I don't really need the output to be this far down, but it's already there, so why bother? And this belt is completely useless now because this is where steel production used to be. Here's my nuclear reactor. I'm still only running a single one just because I don't need more power. I could easily add more, but I just don't need it. I mean, 30 megawatts is what my base is consuming while it's researching, and that's not even like, that's only like 2/3 of what this thing can produce. You can get like, I think 42 or 46 out of 7 turbines, and yes, Waterlubber is going to mention that I am using his, I'm using 7 turbines instead of 6. I am doing that. I've got decent production of uranium, so we've got a big batch of uranium fuel cells in here, and we'll go check that out in just a few minutes. Right here, I've got another blueprint that I found online, which is just a, and it shouldn't have done that. There's like no reason to do that. It's just a production line for all of the assemblers, and they just go into chests. I can obviously swap these out for provider chests once we get a actual Roboport network set up, but it's where I get my assemblers so that I'm not making them in my hand. I mean, it's Factorio. We want to automate everything. So it just replaces, passes everything down the line and creates every single type, including over here. I'll be able to produce the stack filter inserters, although I don't really know why I would need those. But stack inserters have to go in there, and it looks like, yeah, it's just not doing it, because stack inserters aren't being produced at the moment, which is interesting, actually. Oh, advanced circuits, right. So I haven't actually given it advanced circuit production. I've actually just dropped some advanced circuits on here. So yeah, it's not going to produce anything, but it will work if I actually put advanced circuits onto this belt. Over here I've got my two areas for, where are those going? My two sects of circuit production. I probably need a third, and there's room over there for a third if I eventually need it. I probably do, but it's completely full for now, so we'll just leave it for now. Let's see here. What do I want to? I want to research something. I'm getting decently far down the research track. I needed the purple one, and that's why I just recently got it. So I'm just researching stuff. I need to get the yellow one now. I haven't been keeping up very well with my science, so it sort of backs up. By the time I got the purple one, I basically needed the yellow, which is kind of funny. We're going to research cold liquefaction just because. Up here is my favorite, conveyor belt system. This is not mine. This comes courtesy of Catherine of Sky. So check her out for all things Factorio. She really knows her stuff. She's played this game for like thousands of hours and has a huge community that also plays Factorio. Her channel is like variety gaming, but seriously, she's mostly known for Factorio, I think, because she's really good at Factorio at this point. Up here is where I have my sulfur production. And here's where plastic is. I just ran my petroleum pipe down here because it was already next to the coal mining. So it was a bit lazy on my part, but it worked out. And it looks like coal mining is starting to slow down because I need to actually connect more areas. There we go. More coal. I haven't really needed that much coal recently. Over here is my stone quarry. I've just covered the whole thing, even though I don't need that much. I've got my whole chest full of concrete here just because I didn't limit it and I didn't really feel the need to. Here I'm sending stone down this line so that it can be smelted down at the bottom right there for the bricks for the science, and these are my pipes for lubricant. This is all terribly ridiculously just thrown wherever it would fit, so it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Here I was automatically producing steel furnaces back when I was upgrading from stone furnaces to steel furnaces, but now I'm no longer. Now I'm upgrading from steel to electric. This was my old steam power line, which I'm not using. I set up a power switch so I could just turn it on and off manually. I don't need it but in case the nuclear fuel ever ran out, I just left it here. But now that I have such a huge surplus, I don't see that ever happening. Here I was manufacturing landfill because there was quite a lot of water that needed to be filled to build some stuff. If I go up here, this is the oil refining setup. This was a blueprint that I found in the workshop. It was just totally complete blueprint that I've added stuff on the right where I put my train, but I haven't finished it yet. I haven't filled in all the refineries, mostly because we don't need it. We're not producing enough oil to actually I mean, we're producing more oil than we can refine, but we're also full up on all of our tanks. The way this system works is that it uses the circuit network to control these pumps, and when these pumps are on, this is cracking light oil into petroleum, and that only is allowed to run when we have a certain surplus of light and not enough of the purple. So these pumps don't drain it until we get above 20K on this tank. So it does work. I kind of had to piece it together because I just built it by hand and then tried to figure out where the circuit network was supposed to go. It might be completely wrong, but it does actually work. It does actually maintain at least 10,000 of each, or at least as close as it can get, 9.4K in each of these tanks. We got a huge backlog of crude because I can't process it fast enough because I'm not using it fast enough, so it does work. So this is my initial oil refining. Here I got my oil train, which hardly even moves because we've got completely full up on oil and even the tank's full. The way this setup also works is that if you have a surplus of a certain type, like the light and the petroleum, it will start making it into solid fuel. So I have an enormous supply of solid fuel, which I was running my steam boilers on before I switched to nuclear, so I really don't need it. All of my trains can run on solid fuel because, you know, that's it. We can't run our trains on nuclear fuel, so unfortunately that's not an option. If I hop into this train, I can have it take us to the next area. If I just go to the oil field, I found some train blueprints for intersections and stuff on the again, just searching on Google, not the workshop. So I've been using them. I don't know if they're ideal, but they do work. And for me, that's really all that I'm looking for, is that it works, and it does work. And that solid fuel car is completely unnecessary. I forget why I put it there. It doesn't work out at all. This oil field is my primary oil field. It's been mining for quite some time, but there's still so many that I haven't tapped in yet. And it was running on just these solar panels for a while until I punched it into the main grid, just because I ran the lines all the way up the train lines. But even when this was just running off the solar panels, it was actually able to produce enough oil for my needs. There's a lot of biters up here. I've actually got a flamethrower turret set up right here because biters tend to come from here, and so it's been keeping them at bay. Which is pretty sick, because we can run it off the crude oil, which doesn't actually boost its damage. Apparently, if you run it off different type of oil, you can get more damage. So if we run over here, this is my copper mining facility. I know why the thing keeps getting dark. I actually have night vision goggles, but because I don't have enough power production in this armor, it's not able to keep up. So when my night vision turns off, everything suddenly gets dark, which isn't good for recording this video, but I've just sort of gotten used to it. So that one ran out, and that one's run out, and then it looks like this one has run out, and that one's run out. And I just put this down. Like, some of these were just put down. They've already run out. So we're mining the ore and refining it, smelting it into plates here, because that's the more efficient thing to do, because plates take up less room than ore, so shipping the plates makes a lot more sense. And yeah, so the train that comes here is currently down here, because I don't know if it's a smart idea or not. It probably isn't. There it goes. I am using the same train to supply both the iron and the copper, and the coal liquefaction has just completed. Let's just research the nuclear fuel reprocessing, which I don't need at all. Let's just do it anyway. So down here I'm mining iron. There's quite a large setup that I've pre-planned with blueprints. It's probably not sufficient. As you can see, the amount it's mining isn't even sufficient to supply the furnaces I've already built, which is dumb. I should put more miners down or get rid of the furnaces or move them. Actually, the problem right now is that so many of these have run out because we're mining it out really quickly. Then this loader over here is not the best. I was trying to set up a circuit-based balancing system over here, but I'm just not, haven't been able to get it to work yet. I have to wire these together, but I don't actually know the underlying math behind it. I just got it from a blueprint, so I don't really understand it, which is a problem. But basically, we've got enough iron plate production so that it does actually work. And the train allows itself to get, come on you two, quit being stupid. The train will load up on 4,000 iron plates before leaving this depot, or it waits 30 seconds. And come on. And then it travels to the copper, where it loads it all onto the second car. No, you stop it. I know why it's doing that. Loads it onto the second car, so that one car is iron and one car is copper. And yeah, that's why it's doing it. On the blueprint, all of these, the blueprints for the rails, all of these are surrounded by 4 lights. And so, since I have lamps in my inventory right now, these idiots are placing them, even though it's completely unnecessary, because I never got rid of the blueprint, because I was like, why bother? I'm not even going to be here, so it doesn't matter. But now it matters, because these guys are annoying me. Oh, was I really missing a signal there? Well, I'm glad it still worked. Anyway, if we come down here, and I realize that I should have either brought my car or kept riding the train, but, you know, whatever. We're almost to the end. There's only a couple more things to show off before we're done. Here's my uranium processing area. I know that it probably wasn't necessary to have a whole tank car full of sulfuric acid loading up, but, you know, why not? So this is where it drops off the uranium, but as you can see, I'm completely full up on uranium. I need to build more centrifuges, but at the same time, it's not really that necessary because we're still producing tons of uranium fuel cells and a huge amount of uranium-238. So I really need to do something with all this uranium-238. I keep having to add more chests because it keeps filling up the chests that I do have. And these solar panels were only placed here at the start when I needed to supplement the power just to get this running, so I could get enough fuel to supply my nuclear reactor and get it going. I'm going to hop into this train, which is also running off solid fuel, and we'll just head down to the actual uranium mine. This is a lot of signals. I don't even know if all these signals are necessary, but the system works, and that's all that matters. So yeah, Waterlubber will probably comment on this video. Well, he'll definitely comment on this video about what's going on here, and tell me how inefficient it is. But it works, and at the moment, that's all I really cared about. So it looks like a biter just recently died here. This is my uranium mine. I've completely covered the entire uranium spot in miners. It's going to take a long time for it to mine these out, just because these chests are full, and the train, while it runs, doesn't run very often anymore because we can't process it fast enough. But that doesn't matter because it's still providing more than enough nuclear fuel to run our operation. So basically here I've got 3 tanks for sulfuric acid. If you didn't know, when you're using pumps to offload fuel trains or load them, you get more throughput if you go straight out of a tank than if you go through a pipe. So it's always good to have tanks directly connected to your pumps that are going on and off your rails. So this is my uranium mine. That's where I'm mining my uranium, and that's basically it. So you've seen everything now, and I really like the new map system because I can look at my entire base. I can keep an eye on my nuclear reactor, make sure that everything's running properly. Is really sweet. So I do want to expand my solar, probably, but my nuclear is doing quite a good job. I've got 1.1 million iron ore here and 1 million copper ore here, and I don't anticipate needing to find new spots soon, but eventually when I do need more iron, I'm going to branch off from here, take this base out, and acquire this 1.5 million iron ore, as well as this 610,000 iron ore, and eventually I'll need this uranium ore mine over here. But as you can see, there's a lot of biters. Because it's a rail world, they won't resettle once they're dead. And yeah, it's pretty cool. So I'm sorry I couldn't give you a seed for this map, because it's actually really quite neat. But yeah, this is my rail world base, and I hope you've enjoyed taking a look at it. Yeah, so I'm SentinalH. Like and comment the video if you did enjoy it, and join our Discord if you're at all interested. I'm SentinalH, and I'm signing out.